Hi there, it's Ina from Taproot Tarot, and it is autumn equinox, and it's been a dark and stormy afternoon. We had a pretty big storm blow in not too long ago, and more on the way. So I'm taking advantage of some natural sunlight while there's a break in the weather. And I want to do the 12 deck tag from Angel at Feeding My Soul 1212. I love the number 12. It's been my favorite number. And I'm guessing it's hers too. And she does really good tags. I've seen this tag. It's maybe like a month or so old, so I've seen it, but I can't remember everyone I saw it from. So I'll just be tagging and linking Angel's original video. It is 4 prompts with 3 decks each. And she welcomes everyone to change the prompts or switch the decks around so there's more in one prompt, less in the other prompt. The only guideline is to keep it to 12 decks total. And prompt number 1 is 3 decks you felt called to use as soon as you received them and why. I'm going to have 2 in a later prompt and 4 in this one. This is just the vibe right now. I've been really drawn to imprecise, I suppose, and dreamier facsimile or restored decks, as you can see here. And so as I brought these ones in each time, I just had to get my hands on them immediately. This one is a Minchiate a Leone, printed originally by Mondo. And this is from from a deck that's in the Fournier Museum. But it's a little unclear who manufactures this modern reproduction of it. I got it from somebody in Spain though. And I love the size so much. It's very sturdy and super usable and just beautiful. And I am delving a bit more into reading Minchiate decks, and this one's just beautiful. It's one of my favorites. I talk about it a little bit more in my Minchiate collection video. But yeah, I could not wait to get my hands on this one. It's also one I don't have to be precious with it, which is my favorite. It's kind of laminated, but you can still feel the paper sides. So it's not super plasticky, and yeah, it's perfect size for my hands, even for a 97 card deck. This is a Minchiate a Leone by Mondo. Next, let's talk about this Jacques Viéville Tarot by Vieux, Monde. And I've been working with the Viéville by Artisan for a while, and that is a cleaned up and restored version. And I remember sometime in the past thinking, I don't need this Vieux Monde version. I've already got, why would I need 2 Viévilles? And I love my Artisan version. It's my new moon deck. And I love the coloring in that one. It's absolutely gorgeous, but I suddenly realized, ooh, I actually would definitely really use this also. And I'm so glad I got this as well. So definitely room in my practice for 2 Viévilles, and I absolutely adore it. But I think you're noticing a pattern that I'm just really loving the kind of wishy-washy facsimile decks. I think they're beautiful. So this is the Jacques Viéville, or Tarot de Viéville by Vieux, Monde. By the way, it has an interesting book that is supposedly from an esoteric book in French specifically on the Viéville. And I don't know if I have another Vieux Monde deck that says the same thing, but it says it's from this book but doesn't give an author, which makes me doubt that it's a real book. But the meanings in here are actually kind of interesting. It isn't like RWS meanings imposed upon a historical deck or anything like that. So it's kind of cool, worth reading. The Tarot Rhenan. This is my vintage copy. The in-print version is just called Tarot de Marseille. They are both from Piatnik. This one will be a little pricier since it's vintage, between $60 and $100. These ones shouldn't be any more than 15 to 30 bucks because that one is still in print. And I've talked about this one in a couple of previous videos, the Extraordinary Art style video, and the Don't Pay Too Much for This Deck video. This one has a guidebook. I don't remember the guidebook being remarkable. I absolutely love this art. And it's a favorite deck of one of my tarot tube friends, David. I will link the video where he talks about it, but he said something pretty funny about, I think maybe in the comments, that he finds decks that are kind of crap really readable. And that's kind of true. I'm not drawn toward really artistically detailed decks or decks with really beautiful art usually. Now, like the Matronua, for example, is definitely an exception there. But for the most part, I really prefer art like this for getting into that intuitive place and for reading. So I absolutely love the Tarot Rhenan. I think it's beautiful, but also kind of crap, like David said. But in the best of ways. This is a Tarot de Marseille Conver reproduction, a facsimile, I assume. It's a reproduction from the Bibliothèque Nationale de Paris. It's still in order right now because I just used it for my recent Conver history video. And I've said every single time I've brought it out recently that it's given me a new appreciation for the Conver, which is kind of the, you know, the old hat standard TDM deck. It was popularized for pretty random reasons, but it was the default TDM for so many decades. And it is really beautiful, and this has helped me to see the beauty in it again. And it's also just a great size. It's a little stiff, but not bad. Since it's so small, I don't find that to be terrible. It did come with a really strong smell at first, so I had to, that's another reason I had to get my hands on it and just use it, is because I wanted to air that smell out. I felt like the more I shuffled it and used it, the more I kind of got rid of the smell. It's still there very faintly, like kind of bad, like kind of gives me a headache, but it's worth it. And I'm assuming after months and months of use, it should go away completely. So I don't know if I gave good reasons why I had to get my hands on these all immediately, but I think it was just a craving, kind of a sudden change in taste for a preference for this kind of deck. And so each time I received one, I shouldn't say received, each time I bought one, I just wanted to get them out and use them right away. Prompt number 2 is 3 decks in your collection that you've never felt caused to use and why. And since my last one I used 4 decks, I'm going to put 2 in this one. And this is one that I got because I love the artwork. I think it's so great. I love the humor of it. I've actually had my eye on it since before I even started a YouTube channel. I first saw it on Simon's channel. And the reason I haven't felt drawn to use it is because it's really straightforward RWS and it's hard to read around the RWS meanings in this deck. And that's probably something I'll be better at as I become a more confident reader. But just the references in this deck I absolutely love. I used to live in the Southwest. And so the colors and the pop culture references and so much of it just really appeals to me. And the sense of humor too. So yeah, I'm really loving this deck. I'm sure I will start using it more at some point. Maybe it'll be a good summer deck for next year. I've been kind of getting more into using decks seasonally. But oh my gosh, there's so much that I really love about this. And honestly, you know, not all of them are super, I don't know, it is pretty RWS, but I think you can look around that imagery that is just not, those aren't the definitions that I use for these cards or the way that I read cards. So I have to learn to work around the really strong RWS imagery in order to use this. I remember commenting on Simon's video that this is peyote because he was wondering why are all the coins aliens? And of course, you know, this is a reference to alien abductions that are supposed to be more common in the Southwest. And again, this is just the humor that I absolutely love about this deck. But then a lot of the cactus suits, which are the coins, are more, they're kind of not just aliens, but like yogi aliens, which is a very niche genre of, I guess I want to say like dirt hippie belief in the Southwest. There's a group of people out there that I'm acquainted with, that I'm aware of, I should say, who are just really into aliens as a spiritual practice. And so that is what I think is going on here with this peyote cactus, which if you don't know is a psychedelic cactus, which is protected and used for indigenous ceremony. And it's kind of problematic because people do obviously try to steal it for recreational use, which in my opinion is not an appropriate use for something that should be reserved for indigenous use. But anyway, I digress. There's this book called Electric Jesus, and I met the author on tour, and he's one of those kind of alien hippies. They're just very interesting people. Definitely not my taste for spiritual belief, but super interesting. I love learning about other people's beliefs. Isn't she just gorgeous, the Butterfly Maiden? Oh my gosh. But yeah, love this deck so much, and I just need to become a more versatile reader so that I can use decks that have strong RWS imagery confidently. The next one is a deck that I got mostly because I am a fan of this artist, Ollie Munden, labeled as Mega Munden on the Tattoo Tarot. Jane Lyle is a pretty well-known tarot author. I have a book about the Marseille from her, which has really beautiful imagery. But yeah, I bought this mostly for Ollie Munden's art, and I think I have 4 or 5 decks of his. I have both of his Tattoo Tarots, as well as this and another deck of playing cards, and possibly a 3rd deck of playing cards. I can't remember if he did a 3rd deck or not. But anyway, this is cool. I really like his art. This sticks to the style of the Tattoo Tarot, but we have kind of some Lenormand themes in here, or some more fortune-tellery kind of images, which are pretty cool. But this is very similar to Tattoo Tarot. I have another deck of his that has more like really old school tattoos on it. It's super cool. I should get all of his decks out at some point and do maybe a comparison or just an appreciation video. But I haven't been called to use this because I just don't want to confuse myself with playing cards right now. It's something I do want to learn. I have several playing card books, including this one. But I just want to get more confident with my tarot reading before I confuse things. So that goes for this as well as Lenormand. And, you know, those are reserved for the future. Although I should probably just jump in confidently with both feet, because you learn by doing, right? And I'm already confusing myself with all sorts of information, so I may as well add more into the mix. So that was prompt number 2, decks that I haven't been called to use yet. Prompt number 3 is 3 decks in your collection you want to do a deep study with, and why? So this one has been on my wish list for so long. It's Le Dinosaures de Marseille, and it always had a shipping cost that was kind of prohibitive for me, so I never went for this one until I saw in a comment section, I think the comment section was in Kara's video, from Kara Tarot, and the comment was from Mariana from Happening by Chance, I think, saying that the creator was offering free shipping, which is amazing because she's somewhere in the UK. Now, that happened to be right before the bad tariffs went into effect for the US. So this was my last hurrah, my last international shipment before the cost became even more prohibitive. And that's good. I am actually no buy right now until January because I brought in a lot of decks and I want to give them attention. Anyway, I was such a dinosaur dork as a kid, and this is such a cool deck. It's one I want to remind myself of. You know, like, for example, when I was a kid, this kind of dinosaur was called a Brontosaurus. The last I heard, it's an Apatosaurus now. That may have changed since I heard that. So I kind of want to you know, go through and relearn some dino facts. So that's the deep dive aspect of this, I guess. And it does come with a small book. I guess she's been working on a larger guidebook to it and is just struggling to get it done. I've followed her on Facebook, and I'm not sure if that's something that would ever even be available to people who weren't in her original Kickstarter. I hope she makes the PDF available to those of us who weren't in the Kickstarter. But anyway, this is such a cute deck. It is not really a Marseille. I love this for judgment. Anyway, it has extra cards. This is the tree shrew, which is the happy squirrel of this deck. Crinoids. I've got a crinoid fossil I found in a creek nearby. But anyway, and so these are, where I live, we used to be an ocean. So these crinoids are all plesiosaur and ichthyosaur kind of dinos that lived in the water, which are kind of my favorites. I don't know, I have a lot of favorites. Ammonites, I have some fossilized ammonite as well for coins. But anyway, I keep starting to say, and then not finishing my thoughts, that this has additional cards, which are based on kind of the more obscure and less conventional Minchiates that we've had in the past. The Poi, I think, is one that shares some characteristics with this. Ferns are swords, I believe. Okay, so here is where we start with some additional cards. So there's Mercury, Jupiter, Venus, Saturn, I love it. Saturn is also Cronus, who gets mixed up with Kronos, or Father Time, in antiquity. So all the symbolism is kind of mixed up here, which is appropriate for a tarot deck. So those were the planets, and these are the virtues. I had to look at the book, but now that I see it, it totally makes sense. That's prudence. Faith, probably. Yes, that's faith. I think that's hope. Oh yeah, like Esperanza is similar to Esporde. Yep, that's hope. Okay. That was a stretch. Charities, comrades. That's cute. So this is charity. And now we get into the seasons. So this is spring. And this is labeled as Edaphosaurus, which looks like a Dimetrodon to me. But some of the names are, you know, it could be a family or a genus rather than the species. So could be either one. But it's not a dinosaur. He doesn't have the bird hips that dinosaurs have, like you can see here. He's got reptile legs. All right, so that was spring. This one, oh, that was spring or infancy. This one is summer or youth. Autumn or maturity. And winter or old age. And now we get into the humors. So these guys are sanguine and phlegmatic, melancholic, and choleric. That's so cool. So I do want to not only learn the guidebook, but also just kind of update my dino fact data bank in my head to appreciate this deck a little more. So that is Les Dinosaures de Marseille. Next is Tarot Neocolonial de las Américas by Patrick McGrath Muñiz. And this deck hits hard. I have only looked through it and kind of flipped through the book. And this might just be a study deck for me. Although I bet it reads really well. But some of these I'm kind of like, man, US Games, just let this guy print that. Like, it's awesome. I love it in a good way, in a very rebellious way. So it just really goes through some history of the colonization of America, and it's super satirical. Here we have Marie Antoinette. And what I love about this it looks like an actual portrait of Marie Antoinette and not the just like super dolled up kind of fake versions of her. But then she's got her ice cream cone and kettle and McDonald's. Like, it's so good. There's so much in this. Here's Henry VIII as the emperor. Wow. Yeah, this, oh my gosh, it's so good. Dang. I love just going through this and letting the messages hit, you know? It's a really, really brilliant symbolic language that barely even requires a guidebook, but will definitely benefit. Oh wow, look at the viruses on his head. He's got a halo of viruses. That's wild. So yeah, this is so good. And I'm really looking forward to reading the book more closely. I've, like I said, flipped through it. I've gone through the deck numerous times. But it's one that I want to sit down and really read the book more carefully. It's just that I've gotten a lot of decks this year, and I haven't gotten to it yet, but I sure will. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. So that is Tarot Neocolonial de las Américas by Petruk, McGrath, Muñiz. And look at the backs, y'all. That's cool, huh? And I imagine I will probably read with this deck too once I learn it, because it looks super readable and just really hits hard. Finally, Dame Fortune's Wheel Tarot by Paul Huson. I plan to do Drop 'em 78 this year, which I had never done before. And so I'm going to kind of do my own thing and just go through the extended guidebook, one card a day, and just kind of take 78 days to really learn this deck. And it's a very cool deck. It's got illustrated pips, but they're based on Atea's pip meanings. And Paul Huson is a phenomenal tarot historian. So there's going to be a lot of history to learn in this deck as well. A lot of references to multiple different historical decks, not just tarot, but playing cards as well. The courts. And honestly, his big book, I'm not remembering the title, but his big, tarot history book has one of the best sections on the courts ever. And he's inspired by these older French playing cards, which didn't have knights, so those aren't included, but they name each of the other three courts, the Jack, Queen, and King, after somebody famous from antiquity or mythology. And that helps inform the meaning of those court cards. And we see that repeated. It comes from a French playing card tradition, but we see it repeated in other tarots as well, such as the Solobusca. So as you can see, they are illustrated. Some of them might be similar to RWS because Arthur Waite and Pamela Coleman Smith borrowed a lot of Atea meanings. Sad or negative cartomantic sword meanings, which that's pretty traditional for the swords to be negative. So yeah, I will do a full video on my plans for Drop 'em 78, and then I will plan to post just a little short every day on YouTube and Instagram. And I will explain in the longer video what Drop 'em 78 entails. You can go to Mindful Tarot. One of my early tarot mentors was Esther Frankel. Her previous book is published under Lisa Frankel, and it's called Mindful Tarot. That was probably, I think, my first tarot book, other than the Motherpiece books. But yeah, I'm a longtime follower of hers, and she's really into delving deep into tarot and incorporating it into your life. She's actually the one who got me into historical decks and playing cards as well. So I'm looking forward to finally doing Drop 'em 78 and using it as an excuse to do a deep dive and learn some history from Paul Huson's Dame Fortune's Wheel Tarot. And finally, 3 decks I want to use before the end of the year. These are all mostly have to do with their seasonality. I mentioned before that I'm kind of getting a little bit more into using decks seasonally and just kind of craving some darker, spookier decks as the season turns to fall. So this is one that I've brought out in the past toward the beginning of when I started my tarot channel, the Magic Gate Tarot. This is also from Vieux, Monde. And it's by the artist Vera Petruk. And it's just really cool. It's a very different tarot. It's a cool pip deck. The book is unfortunate. It's kind of an RWS deck. It's not written by Vera, it doesn't seem, so there aren't a lot of really insights into the art. I mean, there are a little bit, but it sounds speculative as if it was written by the guy who writes the Vieux Monde guidebooks instead of by the artist. But yeah, like I said, it's a cool pip deck. It's got some spooky vibes to it. It has some really weird and interesting imagery. Some of it is almost like, what the heck? And so there have been times when I just wanted to know what was going on in an image, and I check the guidebook, and sometimes it has helpful information. I definitely disregard it for the pips though, because those are all RWS meanings. It's a super cool chariot. But yeah, I'm thinking this is definitely a fall vibe. This is probably going to be a good October into November kind of deck. The Hermit as a dragon hoarding his gold is interesting. And, you know, there are a lot of these where there's a little bit of maybe I don't want to say a negative spin, but it's kind of highlighting a shadow aspect of yourself. So it's a good shadow deck in my opinion. Anyway, super cool. Definitely fits the vibe of the season. Those are the backs. And that is the Magic Gate Tarot from Vieux, Monde by Vera Petruk. And next is one of my old favorites, Le Tarot de Marseille par Polka. I love this one, but I kind of put it away after just being really, really into it for quite a while earlier this year. But I've been thinking about it again, and I think it'll definitely fit the vibe again as we get into the darker months. I can see this appealing right now, but also, you know, end of October into November. So yes, this is another one. It's just been on my mind, and I've been thinking, yeah, I definitely want to get this deck out again. Very spooky, very creepy, very shadowy. But also just, it's a really great deck. I love it so much. It's a very honest deck. I love reading with it. Like, what's hilarious? It has a wicked sense of humor. I'm just grinning while I'm watching, or while I'm looking at it. Look at that. It's so funny. But funny if you enjoy gallows humor or dark humor. Look at Judgment, like literally pointing and laughing at somebody, making them cry. This person is laughing too. It's terrible, but it's, you know, so real. The valet of coins being unable to handle his money as if he's drunk on it. It's so funny. But some of the cards are actually really beautiful too. Did I pass Temperance? I had wanted to show you Temperance because that's probably one of the funniest cards. Is this not the realest Temperance you've ever seen in your life? Like, she's trying her best, okay? She didn't quite make it into the other vessel, but it's fine. She tried. I absolutely love her. So yeah, I adore this deck. And I stopped using it for a little while. I kind of got more into some summery, brighter decks, you know, thinking that I wasn't into seasonality with my tarot practice, but apparently I am. And this is my favorite time of year, which is probably true for a lot of us who are in the Northern Hemisphere. It seems like tarot people often really love the fall or autumn. So this is Le Tarot de Marseille par Polka. And finally, this is the John Bauer Tarot. And I love this deck so much. I've mentioned before that I grew up really surrounded by Minnesota Swede culture, and so this artwork is so familiar to me and just really, it's just very comforting. John Bauer was a Swedish artist, and his art style, I should say, a lot of Scandinavian artists have had this similar art style, and he would have been a contemporary of Pamela Coleman Smith, by the way. Except that he did die young. And a lot of these are illustrations for storybooks, so I do have a couple of storybooks. And I intend to develop this as an inner child deck. And I've mentioned before that I finally found a video from Elizabeth at More Intuitive Me that did a really great job of explaining what inner child work is and giving an example of a good tarot spread for doing that kind of work. This one just, on so many levels, speaks to a past me or brings me back to my childhood. And it's also just a very comforting winter deck, I think. I plan to work with it more and develop an inner child practice with it. And I could see this really working well as a December, January kind of deck. So here we are at the end of September, and this is prompt number 4. 3 decks you would like to use by the end of the year. And yeah, kind of in chronological order. This feels very October-y to me. This one is feeling very late October into November, and this one feels very December into January for me. So I will probably plan in December to start doing more inner child work, but continuing to work with probably all of these starting here pretty soon because they have all been on my mind, and that's why I want to use them by the end of the year. So this has been the 12th deck tag. I've been working on a video about using 64 card decks, Bolognese decks in particular, and it's not quite ready to go yet. So I really appreciated having a tag like this available that is super fun. Got me to thinking about how my practice has been going and how I want it to go. Big thanks to Angel for coming up with yet another really great tag. She definitely has a knack for this, and I will link her video to the original for sure. If you have any decks that meet any of these prompts that you want to tell me about in the comments, I'd love to read about it. I'm super interested in everyone else's practices as well. I hope you enjoyed checking out a few of my decks. I really enjoyed sharing them with you. Thank you so much for being here and for watching. Truly, I really appreciate it. And I will talk to you next time. Bye.